I'm Miles. Representative, how you doing today?
Good morning. How's it going today?
Just fine. I cannot believe the topic we're going to be talking about. But before we go there, somebody that I'm pretty sure would have an opinion on this exact topic as well. We had a text I didn't read earlier from Carolyn Starkville, said, any reports on JT? I'm not sure. We're going to ask JT himself, who's on the guest line right now, to weigh in. JT, do you have any reports on JT? How you doing, man?
Hey, man, how y'all doing?
Doing good.
Hey,
I'm
JT.
doing pretty good. I made it. Hey, Tom, Representative Miles, so good to talk to you, buddy.
You too.
And I appreciate all the messages and texts and things that you sent me. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And it just shows your friendship and how long it goes back. No doubt about that. And I just say I want to tell you how much I appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate you, and we've been praying for you for sure.
Well, you know, I'm out here at MD Anderson. I took what they call CAR-T therapy. I did that on February 3rd, which was exactly a year to the date when I went to the ICU and went down back last February, which was pretty cool to really think about that day it happened. And I've been doing really good till Sunday night, and then I started running a little fever. And that's a common side effect. I haven't had any other side effects whatsoever, but I am battling a little fever, and that's just my body, you know, saying what the heck's going on with all this extra stuff in here. It's nothing unusual. It just, I thought I was going to get out of here tomorrow, but the fever bought me a few more days, so just got to get the fever broke, and then I can go back to the condo, and then hopefully sometime in mid-March I'll be home. So that's what we're hoping for. Hey, man, I'm glad to hear y'all are at Mandys Candy. You know, Dave, that's one of those remotes I've been doing, man, 18 years?
Yeah, a
15
minute.
years?
Yeah.
Every year we go to Mandys Candy, and unfortunately I didn't make it last year, and I didn't make it this year. But I wanted to call in because they're a Mississippi company, man. You know what I mean? You're buying candy that's made fresh right there. Those chocolate-covered strawberries and the melt-aways and all the different things that they have. It hadn't been sitting in a warehouse since last summer, like you might buy at the drugstore. This candy's made fresh, and it's a Mississippi company, and you know how important that is to me. And we'll talk more about that coming up. Tom, what about your bill here? I've been hearing a lot about this privatization of the state parks.
Well,
Tell me a little bit about it.
This is not my bill here. This is one that's coming out of the Senate. The House, we've kind of got a different approach to this. It's one that we're really scared of because we know how vital our state parks are to our state and how much they mean to so many people and so many communities, like my community over in Morton and Dave's community where he's from. We have two of the best state parks in the state, and then there's some legislation that's out there that's wanting to privatize or lease them out or kind of do away with them, and me personally, I'm totally against that because that's what our state parks were designed to be there for outdoor recreation for everyone in the state, no matter your income. Every man and woman ought to have the right to take their child fishing and be able to afford to do it, or take them camping and being able to afford to do it, and that's what the state parks were there for.
What's the position of the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks? Have they come out either way on this, or they?
Well, this bill was introduced to begin with, and you have to look at it. It was Senate Bill 2486, was to do all these things we were talking about, and now they've decided to do a study committee. But you know, right, JT, we've got PEER, which is our legislative non-biased committee that goes out and does research on things and reports back to the legislator. The chairman of tourism in the Senate, Senator Chasanow, she requested a peer report to ask the parks, to ask the Department of Archives and History, to ask tourism and MDA what we really needed to do to help improve the status of our parks. So when you see this other bill that's coming through the Senate, and now they've even made a study committee of it, there's no need in that because we've already got a peer report that's going to come back with the facts, that's not slanted by anyone that's might have been influenced one way or the other, who already has their opinion come up. All we're saying is that we don't need this bill right now. Let's wait on that peer report see what we need to do to improve them. We all know that our state parks need more attention, and that's the one good thing I see out of this conversation is that at least we're talking about them for a change, but we don't need to make haste decisions because with a study committee with people that may already have their minds made up one way or the other or could be influenced one way or the other, when we already have a non-biased committee that's set in place for the legislator to go out and find the facts to get what we need, so we don't have anyone that's influenced one way or the other. Then we can see what we need to do as the legislature to improve that.
Well, Tom, let me ask you this. What's the purpose of this bill being brought forward then? If we have that request for the peer committee to come back with their recommendations and the facts, as you put it, why did this bill get introduced?
Well, you have to go back to begin with. To look at it, to begin with, it wasn't a study committee. The only reason why it's a study committee because the people of this state have spoken out and they're mad about the idea of leasing out or selling our state parks off. We know that there needs to be something done with it. And the House has kind of taken a different approach with different bills that we filed this year, but I just think it's premature. We know that they need work. We know that they need more money. We know that they need upgrades, but how are we going to go about and do it? And the state parks just don't need...
That was going to be my question for you, Tom, is it time that we go back and revisit how the state parks are funded? You know, a lot of people don't realize that, you know, the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, and I'm not exactly sure how the state parks are funded, but the majority of their funding comes from the feds on guns and ammo sales and things like that they receive back when people buy that, and of course with license renewals and different things like that. But, you know, they're not just some autonomous agency that's over there all the time getting money. Is it one of those things that may be where we need to go?
Well, we've got to come up with a better funding mechanism for that from the state, because you look over the last 20 years, our state parks have been cut by 60% of the funding than they were 20 years ago. So 20 years ago, we were funding them 2-to-1. We had 70% more staff that was working then than we do now. So it's just like keeping up a house. If you don't keep up your house, if you don't groom it, if you don't put a coat of paint on it, if you don't spray it off, all the household goods that we do, and if you don't live in it, you don't put any money and keep it up, it's going to go down. And that's what's happened to our state parks. I think everyone in the state loves our state parks, but they just want to see us put a little more attention to that. And I think that's what we're trying to do. But I don't think privatizing or leasing out our parks, we're making it where it's not affordable for everyday people to go to is the answer. Now, there are some private parks in this state, and they do a great job, and that's great. There's some nice facilities out there. I'm lucky in my district. I have a private-owned facility, and it's nice. I stayed out there back at Thanksgiving myself, and we had a great time. But it's not the idea of what state parks were designed for. The state parks were designed so anyone can use them to help improve the quality of life, so people can enjoy the outdoors that we all love, and selling them off, making it where it would not be affordable, and people can say what they want to say, but that's what it's going to lead to.
Well, and most of your state parks have a lake, and they have fishing, and you're going to have somebody there to enforce the law when it comes to, you know, slot limits and license and different things like that. There's all kind of different things that they're going to have to be able to accomplish. And
also, the one thing that most people forget about, I'm from a little rural town over called Morton. We look at the sales tax that these state parks bring into our communities. They bring in a ton of visitors that would never come visit our towns because they're there buying gas, they're buying groceries, they're buying and shopping in our stores, and they're spending their money there. Our state parks generate so much sales tax money for our local communities. Sometimes it's not figured in the equation, and it's forgotten about all the time.
Well, there's no doubt about that. I'd like to see. I'm like you. I'd like to see the peer committee do something about it. Unfortunately, the only thing I have a problem with is 9 times out of 10, the legislature doesn't listen to the peer committee anyway, as you and I both know that. So I hope that that's the case, if that's the way that goes, that they will actually pay attention and do what the peer committee says. But that'll be a question. I don't know if that'll work or not. You know how that works.
That's right. That's right. But it's a non-biased thing that's going to give us the facts and the truth. And I think a study committee is just a waste of time. That you can put a study committee together for anything to come up with the results that you want to have. If you want to privatize it,
Sure.
and you go back and you look at this bill, and that was the intent of it, they will come up with those results if that's what they want.
We're up against the break. We got to pause for a second. Can you hang on through the break, JT?
Sure, man.
Fantastic. You, Tom?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We got a full house when we come back. Representative Tom Miles, JT himself here on The JT Show. We'll continue this here. Representative Tom Miles in the studio, JT himself on the guest line, and we're talking about Senate Bill 2486, which is designed to now form a study committee to decide if we can basically lease out all of the state parks. And the way I've looked at it, from what I'm seeing in this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Representative, there's two different categories. Some of the state parks, they want to group into regional groups of several state parks and lease them out to private companies. Others, they're talking about just conveying them to a local municipality or a county and just giving it to them.
Yes, sir. And that's what you run into now as well, our counties and cities. It's not that they don't want them, but most of them don't even have the money to fix the roads on the streets that they have now, much less keep up a state park.
Hey, you forgot something too, Dave, that you're live and in color in Mandys Candy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Live and in color at Mandys Candy, those chocolate strawberries, man, you need to go ahead and order them and get them ordered. That way you can pick them up at the window. You don't have to wait. And then, of course, get that done, and I'm sure they're going to be handing them out. I presume they're open on Sunday, aren't they, handing out strawberries?
Yes, they are. They are open on Sunday, and she even made the point Emmy did earlier that they're also open on Monday if you blow it, and it's the day after Valentine's, and you realize you need to do something.
Well, give Emmy a hug for me, okay? And tell her I'll be back. I'm going to be back for sure. And I want y'all to remember Mandys Candy because they're Mississippi-owned folks. They've been there forever. I know Nancy has given every kid in Northeast Jackson a job over the years. I can't tell you how many people I've known that have worked there and folks that have gone on. And, of course, they do a great job, and it's good quality chocolates and candies. It's not like you're going to buy something at the drugstore. I'm telling you, that crap was in a warehouse this last summer. It's not fresh. There's no way they can do it because of their volume. And with Mandys Candy, even though their volume's smaller, they take care of everybody, and they will take care of you. And those chocolate-covered strawberries are the bomb. There's no doubt about that. And don't forget, they got candy for diabetics. They got all kind of jelly bellies and all kind of melt-aways and different things like that. Just really good chocolates. They got them all ready to go, and they're there to help you. So y'all go by and see Mandys Candy and see Emmy and let them help you out for Valentine's Day. It'll make you pretty popular at the house, if you know what I'm saying.
At the very least, it'll keep you out of trouble.
That's right. That's right.
Sometimes that's all you can hope for, JT. You can go to nandyscandy.com or call them at 601-362-9553, and we'll be talking with Emmy again here in just a bit.
Tom, did you file the bill over the testing again this year?
We did. We've got one coming through on the House side that does the work keys, which is half of what we've been trying to do for the last couple of years. If we can get that one through this time and get the governor not to veto it again, we'll be in good shape.
Well, that sounds good. I hope that is something that can go forward, and we can get that done. It's just useless. We need our teachers teaching the curriculums and not teaching to a test. And hopefully that's something else that we can change. You know, I brought up something before we went to the break, and I was talking about law enforcement on these privatization of these parks. If they privatize these parks, most of them all have a lake. They're all going to have to be checked for fishing license and limits and different things like that. I mean, are they're still going to make the department do that? Or is that something they want to privatize as well? There's just too many questions that need to be answered on this thing.
That's a great point that hasn't been brought out, JT, because, our wildlife fisheries and parks guys, they're out there, they're supervising everything, making sure that we're all safe when we're out there. And Are we going to as a state going to pay for that private company to have free law enforcement?
Well, I don't know, and that's the question. I mean, according to the legislature, the responsibility of the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks is for their game wardens to enforce, game laws and fishing laws and things like that. And I was just curious. I haven't read the bill. I've been a little out of touch. Y'all know that. I haven't been able to read the bill, and I was just curious how that would work. And I think that's something that really needs to be brought up and answered because, I mean, they're understaffed anyway.
Exactly.
And it's just one of those things I think needs to be answered. I don't think this is a good idea. I think what we need to do is we need to quit cutting their money and start giving them back the money that we've taken away from them and let them take care of the things that they were able to do. It wasn't broke, before until they started taking the money away. And why in the world they decided to take away 60% of their budgets, I have no idea.
Well, it's just kind of happened over years. But, we're at a perfect time, or we're looking at the bond rates are really low right now. If we wanted to do a little bonding, our projected revenues right now are over $300 million. We don't have to fix them all overnight. I spoke to someone had a great idea. They said, well, why don't we just take 3 or 4 of these parks and work on them every year and upgrade those every year, and then within 10 years, we would have the best state park system in America. You don't have to privatize and just quit on the state parks just because we may have quit on them on funding in the past. Maybe we just need to reinvest in them to help upgrades. Because when we get,
I could see it too. My mind's just racing. If we privatize the WMA, couldn't you imagine somebody getting special treatment or something like that? Somebody because they know the owner. Or I just see all kind of problems with this. I just don't like it.
I think it's just opened up a Pandora's box that the taxpayers in this state really don't want because everyone the state parks are special to everyone in some kind of way. Dave and I were talking about if you just get them back to the park. If sometimes we're out of sight, out of mind. We take them for granted, like especially in some of these communities that they're at. But when you get people back out there and you do little things to just reintroduce them to the parks, and they come out and they're like, man, this is really nice. I'm going to go back and enjoy that great lake that we had. Now they may say that they needed a little upgrade on some things, but that's because we failed in the past as a legislature to give the money that they need. But we need to work on that. We had one bill that's moving through the system, JT, that's going to take a part of the tourism dollars of this state and give to state parks to give them a budget to advertise and promote. I know you're probably like me. You see Alabama state parks advertising on TV, but we never see Mississippi state parks. Well, they've never had an advertising budget before. They've been out of sight, out of mind. So maybe if we can give them a little money to advertise, that will help bring more money in. There were other bills that are filed that would take the sales tax that were collected at the state parks and divert that money back for upgrades. We even had one crazy idea of, listen to this, we take a small portion of the lottery proceeds to fund infrastructure and to give them just a little bit of money every year that they can count on to upkeep them. We just got to come with some out-of-the-box ideas or ways of thinking. We also had another bill that's moving the way through the system where we're forming a nonprofit. And what it does is it takes a portion of the money that is being collected on like hunting sales, like on hunting gear and things like that. And that money is going to go back to nonprofits, to a nonprofit that we've set up, and that will also be another way that we can put more money into the state parks. And that's one of the biggest things that we've done in years. But we've got some great ideas, I think, coming out of the House. We're thinking outside of the box. We're not really wanting to privatize or sell our parks or lease them off to where everyday men and women can't go and enjoy the amenities that they were set there for. But we just there's just really no need in this study committee when you have a non-biased peer report. We just need to look at it and then come up with a plan on how we're going to get there. We don't have to do it all overnight, but the more we do will be more than we've done in the past, for sure.
Here's a good one that we hadn't thought about. Larry and Jackson on the C Spire text line said, God forbid an anti-hunting group leased one. Or lease some of them. Well, what if PETA came in and was a high bidder to lease one of the WMAs and said, no more hunting in here. We're leasing it. It's ours. And that's something that theoretically could happen.
It could happen. Anything could happen.
It could.
You just can't open up that Pandora's box because you just don't know where it's going to lead to.
Gentlemen, I enjoyed visiting with you all today. Don't forget Mandys Candy's got your Valentine's to hook you up. Y'all go by and see Dave, hang out with him. I'm sure Scary Gary's around there somewhere. He's probably talking to somebody, if I had to imagine. But he's there as well. And y'all go by there and get you some chocolate-covered strawberries. Get them ordered. And that way you don't get into the chaos on Valentine's Day. Dave, keep holding down the fort. I'll be back soon, buddy.
Take care of yourself and get that beaver down.
Yeah, man. Tom, it's so good to hear from you, buddy.
Good to hear from you. Hang in there. We got to ring a cowbell this fall.
Yes, sir. I'll be back.
Representative Tom Miles in studio with us. We appreciate you coming in to talk about all this.
Thank you for helping us enlighten the state about why we don't need to sell off and lease our state parks.
Well, keep us updated on how this is going. I mean, this is kind of kick the can down the road to next year with it being just a study committee this year, but that means it's not over yet.
Well, we don't need the study committee when we already have the peer report. We're
Yeah.
wasting the money on a study committee.
No, we would never waste money. Representative, I don't know what you're talking about. Come on, Representative Tom Miles,
Thanks.
we appreciate you so much. We will continue on the J.